Hello traders, welcome to the Nexoel Trading Hub YouTube channel. So it happens that I'm quite less busy today, so I decided to check the chart and I was like, let me just record these and make it available in the YouTube community. So guys, this is going to be more of a daily forecast, and the weekly Forex forecast video is already available in the YouTube channel. So you can also do well to check that out in case you've not checked that out. And if you're interested in staying updated with our daily setup or daily forecast, then you can do well to join the free Telegram community where you can have access to that information when it is made available. And also, if you're interested in joining our mentorship program, you can do well to check the comment section to this video, and then you can be able to enroll. You can pass through the enrollment process, and I do be very glad to have you guys in the community to watch you grow alongside other traders and alongside me as we make impact in the Forex industry. So let's look forward to the forecast for the next day coming, and this is the Euro USD. This is also the weekly time frame. I'm not going to check the dollar index. You can do well to check the weekly Forex forecast so that you can understand the perspective to the dollar index. So this is the Euro USD pair from the weekly time frame. I've been pointing this monthly fair value gap from past weeks to us to see how price dips lower, but not necessarily into the monthly fair value gap, which is going to serve as an inversion fair value gap. But then we looked into the likely zone in the lower time frame. This is our ideal drawn liquidity. We're looking forward to bullishness to the upside. So clearly we can see price is violating this rejection block. We can see momentum, but this is weekly perspective. So let's check the daily time frame. Here in the daily time frame, what we can see is the bearish order block I called our attention to during the weekly Forex forecast. So what we can see is now volume is really above the main threshold of the bearish order block, though price have not yet closed. So what we can see is price reaction at the daily bearish order block. This is the drawn liquidity that we've marked out from the weekly time frame. So we are just seeing bullish momentum to the upside. That pullback really never dipped lower. In the GBP USD, we had that pullback, and the setup was shared in the free Telegram community. That is why I said you can do well to join the free Telegram community so that you can be having updates regarding that. At times when I do not make setup available, you can follow the comment section where I have trusted guys that drop part of their perspective, their projections, or let me say their forecast also. So we can see the reaction here at the bearish order block, volume closing above the main threshold. I wouldn't say the price have yet closed, but what we can see is that we're having more volume above the main threshold of the bearish order block being attracted to our draw on liquidity. So what we can now do is let's go to the 4-hour time frame. So here in the 4-hour time frame, what we can clearly see is, from previous weeks, I pointed out this 4-hour bullish order block. I told us to expect bullishness, but then I never expected the bullishness to be this massive to the upside. So clearly from the 4-hour time frame, we're just seeing what bullish momentum. Price here took out sell side liquidity. We had bullishness. We have volume close above this break of structure, a pullback. Price giving us what bullishness to the upside. So clearly now we're just seeing bullish momentum. Price have the tendency to violate the daily bearish order block because we can see volume here closing above the main threshold here in the 4-hour time frame. So clearly in the 4-hour time frame, what we just have now is we have this bullish fair value gap here in the 4-hour time frame. So we're going to check the 1-hour time frame to look at the likely zones we could identify. So let's go to the 1-hour time frame. So here in the 1-hour time frame, we can clearly see this has been something I've been pointing out in the free Telegram community. We had this bullish reaction here. They gave us this bullishness because of this bullish order block. Price retested this 3 times and gave us the momentum. Price taking out sell side liquidity. Here we have this break of structure. Price return took out all the sell side liquidity, which are inducement liquidity, reacting at the inversion fair value gap. So we can see how price respected the inversion fair value gap. We had bullish impulse to the upside, and what we can see is that price gave us this market structure shift to the upside. So to give us what bullish continuation, here is a sponsorship zone. So we can see that the high that price created to sponsor bearishness into the sponsorship zone, we had bullishness. Price violated it. So we have market structure shift in the internal structural perspective. And now we can see price continued bullish. So if we're going to see bullish continuation based on the price delivery thus far in the 1 hour time frame. This is the 4-hour fair value gap. So I'll be looking forward to see if I'm taking the bearishness. Then I'll be looking forward to take the bearishness to this sponsorship zone. And then I'll be looking forward to see how price reacts here. The structural perspective or based on trading sessions to give us what bullish continuation to the upside. So this is just my perspective for the Euro USD pair. So guys, let's check out the GBP USD pair. For GBP USD, this is the weekly time frame. Here we have the monthly fair value gap refined also to the weekly time frame here, which was to serve as an inversion fair value gap. I told us to anticipate how price dips into the zone, the possibility of it dipping lower, and then we could see bullish continuation. We've identified a draw on liquidity from the weekly time frame, which is this bearish fair value gap. So I took the sell move here in GBP USD. That is in the free Telegram community. So here in the daily time frame, what we can clearly see is why I took the bear move was seeing price reacting at this institutional order flow that sponsored this bearishness to the downside. So I expected to see the possibility of it dipping lower into the zone because in the daily time frame, this created bullish fair value gap. But what we can see is, yes, price returned into the bullish fair value gap in the daily time frame, which is this particular zone here. Price dipped into it, but then we do not have the deeper dipping of price into the zone before the bullishness to the upside. But then I leveraged the perspective I had due to the reaction I was seeing here. I leveraged that in the lower time frame to have a sell movement to the downside. So what we can now see is, let's go to the 4-hour time frame. We can clearly see that price returned into the daily bullish fair value gap. In the 4-hour time frame, we have this fair value gap here. So, and what we can see, that is where price dipped into and then gave bullishness. Price did not really mitigate the mean threshold before giving the bullishness. So the market will do whatsoever it wants to do. All we can see is price aimed for the sell side liquidity, took out the sell side liquidity, and we have bullishness. So this was the sell movement I took, leveraging lower time frame structural perspective. So what we can now see is the bullishness to the upside. Price is taking out sell side liquidity here. So we have sell side liquidity taken here. Or we can say we have relatively equal low points here. Price purged the liquidity and gave bullishness. In the 4-hour time frame, what we can see here, we have this bullish fair value gap. So if price is going to dip lower, then we could see price dip to the downside, take out this low, which is a sell side liquidity, since it took out this candle low points. So we can see price takes this out, a sell side liquidity, and we have bullishness to the upside. Let's check that in the 1-hour time frame. So in the 1-hour time frame, what we can see is within the 4-hour fair value gap, you can see clearly here we have this bullish order block. That was what price returned to respect. So price respected that bullish order block and then gave us what? Bullishness. So we can see here price return mitigated that, but did not mitigate the mean threshold. Here we have price return deeply into it to mitigate the mean threshold and gave bullish reaction. So this was the sell movement I took to the downside, because what I saw is we had this buy side liquidity taken. Price took out the buy side liquidity, and then we had the fall to the downside. I was expecting to actually execute this pullback that was returning, but then this respected this breaker and fell, giving us an inducement. So I still had a valid reason to anticipate the probable reaction of price here. Since we have stack of what sell side liquidity here, price return mitigated that and the fall to the downside. And now we can see the bullishness to the upside. So if we're going to continue bullish, based on the perspective we're seeing here, we have price return took out sell side. We have push to the upside here. We're seeing price took out this high point. So if we're expecting the probable bearish reaction, then we could see price return into the zone. If you want to take a bearish movement, you should look forward to take profits into this zone, because here you have a bullish order block, and wait to see the reaction, the structural perspective the price will create here, and then we consider going for the bullish to the upside. So we have the sell side liquidity here. So this is my expectation for the GBP USD, except price decides to further continue to the upside and create more institutional levels that I'll then actually look to a new narrative to price delivery and then leverage that for the trading. So guys, this is what I have to show us in GBP USD. So let's check out AUD USD pair. This is AUD USD, and what we can see is the reaction of price within the monthly fair value gap. AUD USD was not part of the weekly Forex forecast because I told you guys that I was quite busy, but then I had to just make that weekly Forex forecast available. So I just checked through a few pairs. So what we can see is the price to cost sell side liquidity, and looking at how DXY gave us bearishness. So I told us to anticipate bullishness in AUD USD, looking at also the Euro and the GBP USD, even though from this weekly time frame you cannot see clear perspective to that. So let's check the daily time frame. So here in the daily time frame, from last week, actually, I identified this unmitigated week and was expecting to see price deep into that, and then we can begin to frame bullishness to the upside. So I have this as a buy side liquidity target that I'm looking forward to see price takes out this, since I'm looking forward to more bearishness in the dollar index. Here price gave us an inversion fair value gap, and you can see when you project that is that price is respecting the main threshold. I'm not really going into details. So in the 4-hour time frame, what we can clearly see is the unmitigated week gave us this down close candle that sponsored this bullishness to the upside. So we can see our price deep into that, and here we can clearly see we are having what bullishness to the upside. So clearly here we can see here we have this bearish order block. So we could see price face a resistance at the bearish order block, and then we could see bearishness before we can frame bullish continuation. Let's check the 1-hour time frame. So here in the 1-hour time frame, we can see here we have this bullish fair value gap, and here we have this mitigation block. So if price reacts at the bearish order block, so I would look forward to see the possibility of a sell move to this fair value gap in confluence to this mitigation block, and then we have bullish continuation to the upside. So this is my expectation for the AUD USD. So let's check out the NZD USD pair also. This is NZD USD. So what we can see, just like the AUD USD, we have price to cost sell side liquidity bullishness. From the perspective we have regarding the dollar index, from the weekly Forex focus video, we are seeing bearishness. So I told us to look forward to see how we could see bullish in the Euro USD, GBP USD. The same applies to the NZD USD and the AUD USD. If you have an understanding of intermarket analysis, then you can get to understand what I'm saying. So clearly now I have this as a sell side liquidity, which is still the monthly fair value gap. So let's get to the daily time frame to have a clear perspective. So here in the daily time frame, I saw this bullish fair value gap, but my attention was to the unmitigated week to see the likelihood of a deeper pullback, and then we have what's bullish to the upside. But what we can see is the price respected this fair value gap because this was Friday's candle. So price deep into the fair value gap. Let's have that. So you can see that is the bullish fair value gap, respecting the main threshold, the consequent encroachment, and we can see bullishness. I have this as the drawn liquidity, buy side draw on liquidity. So let's check the 4-hour time frame, guys. So here in the 4-hour time frame, based on the candle week, this is the zone I identified last week. You know, I told us that I couldn't look more into other pairs due to my busy schedule. So what we can see is price didn't really dip into that. So price reacted at the fair value gap we identified from the daily time frame, which here also we can see a bullish fair value gap, and we have this week. That is what price returned to mitigate, where we have open close price. I believe we're going to see the likelihood of a bullish order block here in a lower time frame, because here we have the concept of the hidden OB, the double marabozo. So we can see bullishness to the upside. Price now is reacting at this bearish order block. The price have not mitigated the body of the up close candle before the bearishness to the downside here. So we could see resistance here, and we have bearishness before we have the bullish continuation. Let's check the 1-hour time frame. So here in the 1-hour time frame, so clearly, you know, I told us we consider possibility of a bullish order block. So though here we have, this is where the manipulative movement took place. We had down close candles before bullishness. So we can see our price return to that. We have a rejection block, mitigated that bullishness, internal structural perspective, here we can see we have a change in state of delivery. Price return mitigated that, and we have bullishness. So here we have this fair value gap, bullish fair value gap. Let's regard this as a breaker because this took out this low points. So clearly now what we can see is the likelihood of price giving us a movement to the downside here, and then we have the bullish continuation to the upside. So this is gold, and this is a weekly time frame. From previous week, we identified this fair value gap to anticipate bullishness. Price printed this engulfing candle, and I told us to see how price trade back into the mean threshold to expect bearishness, and that happened. But then we can see bullishness occurring. So let's check the daily time frame. So here in the daily time frame, what we can see is price giving us bullishness to the upside. We had the fall to the downside. Price return into this bullish order block, and we can see price giving us bullishness to the upside. Clearly here we have this bearish order block. This is the body of that. So we have to wait to see price trade to that zone, and then we could look forward to see if price is going to give us bearishness, or we could see a break to the upside. So from the 4-hour time frame, what I pointed our attention to is the inversion fair value gap from the last 2 weeks in the daily time frame, which I refined here, and we can see how price reacted at that. And we can now see, I told us to see the possibility of how price takes out this, and then we could see price retest it as an inversion. If price gives us a reason to sell, then we can sell from here. What we can see clearly is that price did not give that reason. Price gave us a breakout of this bullish fair value gap here, and what we can see we have is a return back into it, and here we have this inversion fair value gap. So clearly here we can see we have stack of what buy side what liquidity. We have relatively equal high points, so we could see higher prices in gold, and here is the daily bearish order block, the candle body, the open price of the up close candle before the bearish movement to the downside. So we could see bullishness, since what we are seeing here is price failed to continue bearish to the downside. Price is attracted to the buy side liquidity. So this is just a very quick one. So there'll be the possibility of me giving updates and setups in the free Telegram community. I just hope I don't get so busy tomorrow. Cheers guys, and God bless you all.